break. Knows how to take information in. Because he just did that. He sat and gave me the eye contact, you know. He doesn't know the tone, so it's hard to tell. I'm teaching the tone, but he seems familiar with the concept of recalling a little, you know. But he's not in the right state of mind, obviously, to be learning. He's not going to be learning, right? Like, we've talked about this before. You're trying to teach a kid in the classroom, but he's screaming and yelling and standing on the desk and causing chaos. What do we do with that kid? We don't try to teach him. We put him in the principal's office and he gets punishment for it. And then we go and teach the other kids. And when that kid comes back and is ready to learn, then he's allowed to stay. You know? Demeanor and his state of mind and his assertiveness in my home, so that he understood that this is my place. And now he's looking at it differently, and now he's willing to listen to me a little bit, and now I can teach him. But the most important thing is that on the e-collar, the association to the commands is going to be one of respect. So everything I do from the minute I start working with the dog, this is involved. So all those experiences are captured in this sensation, okay? A simple way to put it is, he knows what to do with the e-collar pressure in conflict. It's not fight back, it's not bark, it's not lunge. It's to relax, settle down, and take direction from your owner. So it's a certain state of mind he needs to enter, and then he needs to take direction. The biggest part with correcting a dog on the e-collar is teaching them that it's you, of course, but also teaching them that there's a way out. And that's the calm submission. If he submits to the situation, he's fine. So they learn that out, and that's what he's learning right now. Also, they start to learn why that their behaviors cause the correction. So they become operant in that way. They know what they did to receive the correction, so they know what to avoid next time. So ultimately, they have some control. They have control of whether or not they're being corrected if they, once they become aware of all the rules and all that, become conditioned to the collar. The dog who's not conditioned to the collar is more than likely going to just freak out when they get a correction. So there's a bit of work, a bit of conditioning we need to do. And I choose to condition two very strong things on here. One, the tone recall, and the stim to back it up if they don't. So you hear that tone, it means to drop everything you're doing and run to your owner. And then settle down when you get there. Of course, if you're in the house, you don't have to run, but. And then the other one is when there's conflict, when you're in trouble, when I'm disagreeing with you, when you feel the stim, it needs to submit. Whatever context that looks like. And the dog will get a lot of experience here. They'll learn how to do that. So what's happening is every time he comes here, the pressure turns off. When he goes out, it turns on and it actually gets hotter as it gets further away and cooler as it gets closer. For the most part, that's the basic concept. And I don't have to tell him to stay, because he'll end up doing this because he's tried everything else. And then I can take breaks. So we'll start to pattern in the recall, the relax, and the stay. Simply by he comes here, he gets a pat on the head, he walks away, there's another correction, then a recall, pat on the head, and so on and so forth until he sits, right? Makes it real easy. Good. Very nice. He's feeling nice and soft because we had our little ritual dominance battle that he wanted to have. He was barking at me very dominantly and very assertively because he didn't know who I was. So I took that opportunity to enter the hierarchy and have that conversation with him and submit him. I also did it with e-collars, so he's got some experience with that too. This was involved. I made sure to do some correcting with this, and also some low-level taps as I had him relax. If he tried to get up, he'd get the low levels, and if he didn't listen to them, he'd go higher. And so he's learning to kind of submit to the situation, okay? So we're really just working on calming down, staying, and recalling right now. That's going to be the foundation.
Big boy. Yes, you are. Are you a good boy?
And that's my sound he's going to learn. Shush, he feels that. And that's going to give me the calmness because I've started to use that sound. Shh, tap on the e-collar, relax the dog. Shush, tap on the e-collar, relax the dog. Okay? That's why we like to use the down, some type of down on their side or on their belly. And they try to, and then we'll try to like touch them back here and their head will whip around. And you'll be able to tap on the collar and teach the dog that means to put your head back in the other direction or relax or submit to what I'm doing back here. Let me do it. Makes sense to them. So now there's not as much confusion. Stay.
Good. Good.
Break.
Woo! Good boy!
Little. Most concerning is how he behaves, how he treats other people, how he treats people. So, and that's related to where he thinks he is in his pack, and that where he is in his pack informs how he behaves in the world. Because the leader has more responsibilities. They got to concern themselves with the comings and goings of people. Where he is in his pack informs how he behaves in the world. So if he's high up on the totem pole, he gets opportunities to decide how to react towards people, places, and things. He believes he can have first access to resources. They're all there for him, everything's there for him. He gets to decide how to do things. If he's lower, if he's underneath a set of humans, then they will disagree with all that, and the dog will behave accordingly, meaning somebody comes to the door, the dog's not barking and lunging at it, because that gets corrected, because that's the dog trying to lead the situation, trying to decide how to deal with the stranger coming in your door. You should be able to deal with that, so the dog gets punished for trying to step in its bounds and trying to take your role, right? So same things, like even on the walk, the dog thinks it's for him, so he's off, like you're just there to bring me out, right? That's all how he views the world, so that's how he behaves. When he came here, obviously he was that way. It was just a few minutes ago, but I disagreed with it, and we had our little battle, right? And it ended with him being submitted. Now he sees me differently, and I can feel it. I can feel it, and I can see it. So if somebody were to come to the store and he started his nonsense, I could say no, and it would be effective, and he would learn over a passage of a couple of those reps, or people come to the door, or whatever situation it is, what his position is in that particular event. It's not to go up and deal with it. It's to stay back and take my direction. So knock, 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 look at me, I'll tell you what to do, right? So the relationship, the dynamic of the relationship is going to determine how he behaves, okay? That's huge. That's underneath the commands. Now, the commands are just a common language that both the dog and the human understand. So if I say come, the dog understands that means to run over to me and sit at my feet, right? If I say heel, they know it means to come over here and walk next to me, right? They know these things, but it doesn't mean they're gonna do it, right? Depends on who's asking, depends on the relationship. Just like a kid can be a phenomenal reader and writer and do great in school, but still be a brat, choose not to do the things that you want them to do, right? So just because he can read and write doesn't mean he's gonna behave. So training is not like, training's great, and it gives you the opportunity to have more conversations about hierarchy with your dog, because the dog can do something wrong, you can correct him and direct him. You can say, no, don't do that, go lay down. That's beautiful. Now you can help them through a situation, so we need it, but it's not the end all be all. Just because sit down, place and heel doesn't mean he's gonna be a good dog. Just because I can read and write doesn't mean I'm not gonna commit crimes, right? That's more the dynamic of the dog and the people and dogs around him. That's what will shape how he decides to behave, okay? That's why he's changing already. He's already changing right now because he's a dog, so he's adapting. He's like, okay, new environment, new people, obviously different sets of consequences. I'm gonna sit here and take it all in and learn how to live with this particular person without stepping on landmines, right? Because this person will say no to something, and if I continue, they will punish me effectively. So I want to avoid that. So we got that going on. But he also knows this person's looking out for me because I'll look out for him in the play yard. We'll be feeding him. We'll be showing him affection and doing all the dog owner stuff that you do. So then we'll have trust. So we'll have respect and trust. Now I can teach him. Now I can teach him. So that's what it is. That's what it is. And it's like that with every dog that comes in here. I haven't met a dog that came into this program that I was like, wow, this dog is respectful. This dog is so respectful. It's never that, but do they know their commands? Yeah, most all the time. Even if they didn't go to a training program, dogs know sit, dogs know down. Dogs can figure out to go to a bed. Dogs know when you're trying to get them to come back, It's not about that. It's not about that. So, okay? If we could bottle up a little bit of respect and sell it, we'd be the richest people in the world, because that's the one thing we actually can't do for you or for any client, is to give you respect from your dog. That has to be, we can show you how to do it, but then you have to do it. And then guess what? It's a maintenance thing, because in a pack, it's always, every now and then he's great, but every 3 months he's gonna challenge you to do something stupid because he's a dog. You're there and you know how to deal with it to make sure he doesn't get out of control. All the little things we teach you to do with him, like respecting thresholds and all that stuff, waiting for his food, all that silly stuff, it's reminders every day to him. Like no free feeding, that's a good one, right? Like food's always down for you anytime you want it. There it is, food, 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 food. Doesn't send the right message to this guy. But if we are the ones that provide the food, you see, so it's all about the messages we send to him. Good, he's figuring this out. Okay, recall. We're gonna get that sharp. Stay of some sort, and the calmness, and learning to submit when I'm disagreeing on the e-collar to whatever situation, whether he's trying to hump another dog, whether he's trying to, I don't know what dogs do, whatever they do wrong. These disagreements, whatever I set up, he'll learn to submit when he gets corrected rather than fight the system. Because, I seen a little bit of that fight the system right here. Because I corrected him, and then what he do? He got worse. And this is a little thing. I don't want to make this a long video, but this is a good point to bring up. It's like, the dog's bad, right? Like, the dog's not great to live with. Not a bad dog, you know what I mean? He's a great dog. But he's stressful to live with, right? Okay? So you give him to a trainer, and then he does something of one of his behaviors that everybody doesn't like, and then the trainer corrects, and then the dog gets, never seen that before out of the dog, right? Never seen that before out of, well, that's because you never correct. This needs to be done. This is done to dogs by their pack members and the surrounding dogs when they're young, so they learn how to submit. These guys get taken away 8 weeks, and then they're raised with humans that don't submit them, right? They never learn how to do it. That's why your dog's never calm. That's why you can't go, and the dog just lays down. They don't know how to submit, right? He knows how to sleep, but he doesn't know how to submit. So that's one of the things we're teaching, but we're not just teaching it, we're also capturing it in the sensation of the e-collar. So therefore, this respect can be transferred over to the owners as long as they play the part. Never been able to do that before until the e-collar, because before we'd have to rely on much more complicated and you need much more experienced kind of techniques, leash pops, pinning a dog, correcting a dog with your hands, bonking a dog, all this stuff, which are all still great and they do the job, but people have a hard time doing it, and dogs notice you have a hard time doing it, and then things start to fall apart. This is the same sensation when you click this button that I'm using when I'm training him. So we got the same tools, okay? So, and all you gotta do is tap. That's the only skill is to be able to recognize, and it's not even a skill because you're gonna get taught it. Recognize when to correct. And you get taught that, so that's easy. And it's just doing it, all right? Okay? The one thing that stops people from getting success with a dog is that they don't correct when they need to, and they don't correct firm enough, usually. They don't know how to follow through with that correction. And also, everybody's very busy, so even if we start to come down on the dog and tighten the ship, we're so busy with everything else. Okay, that's a classic dial up as he gets further away from me, and as it takes longer for him to solve the problem. Go up a little bit, but I start dialing back as soon as he commits. Okay. So everybody's very busy, so we can't keep the consistency, right? So just giving you guys a little rundown of what we see, what I'm seeing with him, but what we see with a lot of dogs. It is that relationship. It is that dynamic between the person who's holding the leash and the dog. And why isn't the dog stopping when you say stop? And why isn't the dog doing when you say do? It's more likely because you haven't had an altercation where you had conflict and then you submitted the dog. Because that's what another dog would do to him. It's not my rules, it's theirs. I'm just studying them just like every other dog trainer and trying to teach people about them, trying to teach how dogs actually operate, okay? So by me submitting him, that's why I'm having all the success with him, and it took 10 minutes to do that process. So that's really the missing link in every dog that comes here. And they go to other training programs too, that's fine, but even the dogs from home, none of them really have ever submitted to be a follower 100% to their human. They haven't decided to be that dedicated. Our personal dogs, they're there to that point now. We say no, they don't do it. We can trust them, but we gotta earn it, okay? So, I'm gonna do recall with him. stay in that mind stuff, and then once that's a little easy for him, which will probably be pretty quick, we're gonna start tackling that walk. Because that's gonna be huge for him. Going to the outside world and not going everywhere, but staying with me mentally and physically. I can't stress the mental enough. I can't stress it enough. A dog can be in heel, but still be a pain in the ass, whining, just kind of fidgety, you're correcting every 2 seconds. No. That's not the game. That's a dog who's not there yet. They don't respect. We haven't put all the pieces of the pie together to get the dog where it needs to be. And there are pieces. It's not like I can just submit him that one time and now this dog's great for life. I need to go after that holistic approach and make sure I go after all the key moments throughout a dog's day and life and really teach them what to do, such as the walk. The walk is a big one, so we got to tackle that. And he will learn that when we say heel and when he hears that tone, he's right here, he's in this perfect position, and he's in a certain mind, and we're a unit, and we're walking through the world to the amusement park. When we get to where we're going, I will put him in a sit, and then I release him, and then he's allowed to do the things that he's been wanting to do, like sniff and mark and roll around in the grass and all that good stuff. As soon as he hears that beep though, run right back to me, put yourself in heel physically and mentally. Because if you're in heel physically, but I see you kind of, starting to get amped up, I'm correcting. Just for the energy, I need it low. Come on, chill out. A dog is more reliable when it's calm. So if we're in a command, we want calmness. We don't want our heel to be like jazzed up and then ready to rock and roll. We want our heel to be, like I said, driving. We're good drivers. 10-2, seatbelts on, we're driving to the next place. When we get to the next place, if it's appropriate, then go have a ball, run around. Do whatever once you're released. So that's the key thing, okay? All right, I'm looking forward to getting started with Mr. Duncan. Duncan's his name? Okay. See if I can step out. Good. If you are proofing the commands, like sit, down, place, you think of the 3 Ds. That's what the training. That's what I learned from an old school trainer. The 3 Ds. It's distance, which I'm doing now, duration, which is the length of time, and distractions. So if I were to take a ball and throw it across and pin, can he still sit? So we got to proof him on all those things, because I have a feeling that if I take that squeaky ball out, it's all over. That sit's just gonna, and that's him knowing sit but not doing it right. The way all the commands work is once the owner says it, or the handler says the command, you do it until told otherwise. You do it until you're told another command or until you're released. So there's not just, sit isn't just sit and get up whenever you want. A lot of people think that's sit. People say, look, I get my dog to sit. They say sit 1,000,000 times, the dog finally does sit, but then it hops right back up and they're like, ta-da! That's not how it's supposed to be used. I mean, you say sit and then he sits there and you can do anything you need to do for the length of time that you need to do it, and he doesn't get up until you say. Same with down, same with place, same with heel when we're walking, right? So that will change, that'll change your dog right there, just having that standard, all right? But, you can test your dog. Grab a squeaky ball out and throw it across the room. If it gets up, nope, correct. Back to the sit, try again until he's like, okay, don't get up. We do it with a bunch of things. Small things first, like a tennis ball. Bang. No, just a no. And then back to that sit. But I'm just doing this for your demonstration, so you can see. Stay, and then we try again. And watch how the dog, well, he got a correction by the way. So there was a correction on the e-collar too at the 20. And then the second rep, he said, because of punishment, that's science, it's less likely to happen. Good. The hesitation to do it and then looking at me gets a good voice who says, okay, if I just look at him, oh, I got pet. And because of the contrast of the correction, that feels extra good. That pet feels extra good because I just had a correction. If there's no corrections and it's just do it just to earn the pet or just to earn the food, it's not what I'm looking for as far as how I want him to view me and the command. I want him to view the command as non-negotiable. Like there's consequence, you have to stay there or you're going to be corrected. Rather than stay there so you can earn something. We don't want that. That falls apart, guys. That'll fall apart if the combination is something that the dog wants more outside coming through the door. So the only way it works is if I have something that he wants so bad that nothing in the world matters. But here's the thing, as soon as something out in the outside world means more, because maybe he's getting sick of this food I'm giving him because he gets it all the time, there's no, like, the food's always out, this guy's not starving, now he sees that squirrel, he wants to squirrel more. sees the person, he wants the person more. Now, this trade of if you do this, I'll give you this, it starts to fall apart, and it happens so often. You see people trying to feed their dog while all the dogs are walking by and they won't pay attention to them. They're barking at the other dogs and you're trying to cram food in its mouth. The actual choice to stop that barking would be a punisher, scientifically speaking. While I'm barking, if I want that to happen less, then I punish it. That's just how it works, so that's why we're balanced dog trainers here, and we punish and reward, which is natural. I'm obligated as the owner to keep my dog within certain bounds of civil, which means I have to apply punishers for breaking known rules, just like I get it. Any adult I know, or any human I know, is going to get consequences for certain behaviors out in the world. You can't do certain things without getting in trouble, and that's what keeps us civil. So, there's a little philosophy. Good boy, bud. Now we're going to up the ante to a squeaky ball. Ooh, a little correction there. Don't want that place, that's right. Stay. That's right. Good. Okay, these are just the concepts. I just want to see how much he's got because he's had other training. So I'm seeing where he is. This is for me to really just test. Good. Very nice. So he wants that ball. But he also knows that I don't want him to get up. But that doesn't really matter. But that does matter, but matters even more is he also knows there's a consequence he cares about that will happen if he gets up prematurely. So that he decides not to, and then he gets good boy. So it's all starting to make sense. He's like, okay, just sit there, sit there. Good. Nice mind. He looks good, he looks calm. Right.
Woohoo!
Good boy. Good boy. That was a good boy, Brady. Big dog coming through. Little Brady. He's too small to hang in these big dogs. There we go. Okay. Break.
Woo!
Yeah, look at that guy. Yeah, well, yeah, that's what it's all about.